Commission on Population is pushing for a location-based vaccine rollout to help speed our way to herd immunity. After the recent super spreader events in Metro Manila, police units have been urged to keep a sharper eye on parties and other gatherings. Hospitals in Iloilo City are getting overwhelmed as they continue to grapple with a spike in COVID-19 cases. The courts have dismissed separate motions questioning the arrest warrants issued for 4 of the so-called Human Rights Day 7. And in sports, the Samahang Basketball ng Pilipinas joins other Filipino fans in celebrating Jordan Clarkson's NBA 6th Man of the Year award. Fast, focused, and fearless. Here's a roundup of stories we're watching now. I'm Sean Yao. Various super spreader events have been reported in several parts of the NCR Plus bubble recently, just as experts observe a downward trend in COVID-19 cases. We have IATF advisor Dr. Ted Herbosa with us via Zoom to discuss this further. Dr. Herbosa, how do you propose that LGUs and other authorities improve their messaging in order for their constituents to avoid attending similar events? Hello, Dr. Herbosa. Yes. Hi. Yes.
Hi
First,
there.
let me repeat my question. So, how do you think LGUs and other authorities can improve their messaging in order for their constituents to avoid wanting to attend similar events?
Well, it's very important to understand how the virus transmits, no? I think the main objectives of all these measures that we put out are all about mobility and movement of people. The restriction of mobility and conglomeration of people is to prevent transmission. The virus loves places where there are many people congregating, like that swimming pool party in Quezon City, or mass gathering, people gathering together in one place. These are the places that the viruses love, and we need to communicate this to the people and tell them this is how the virus will spread from one person to another.
That's right. And although I think a part of them does understand that, on the other hand, COVID fatigue is very real, Doc. It has been more than a year without the kind of socialization that we've been used to. What do you suggest people do instead that are still within, compliance to health protocols?
Yeah, that's right. No, even in the 1918 pandemic of influenza, the epidemic fatigue was actually very palpable. And over time, people got discouraged and eventually went out and had parades, and the virus hit them really hard back. So we've got to learn our lessons from history. We've worked very hard for all this community quarantine that we've done. I think understanding that the success is there, the end is near if we are able to vaccinate people. We just have to instill patience among our community people and our relatives. So I think we just have to support each other in this one, so that we can actually hurdle it and not have a bigger outbreak. The rest of the world are having outbreaks in Latin America, even Taiwan. The countries that we were praising for very good responses are now struggling with getting hit by these new transmissions.
That's right. So definitely self-discipline is everything here. Now, speaking of vaccination, Dr. Herbosa, I wanted to ask you about the POPCOM suggestion that a location-based vaccine rollout should go hand in hand with the ongoing inoculation by priority sectors. Do you think this is doable and complementary to each other?
He's speaking from the point of view of public health approaches, wherein sometimes doing the vaccination on a house to house or barangay by barangay, or even pop-up immunization centers is done. In the UK, that's how they increase their efficiency to vaccinate. They have pop-up vaccination centers. You get out of the underground train, and when you get out, there's a pop-up vaccination. You want to get vaccinated, you just step inside, and they'll vaccinate you. So here we've been very, aggressive with this mega and giga vaccination centers. They're showing it on screen. And what I found is that in these big screens, in these big mega vaccination centers, there's a lot of pile up of people. It slows down. So there are some pros and cons with it. Of course, in the other vaccines where you need ultra low temperature and there are very specific cold storage requirements, this type of facility might be good. But in the rest, where you can only have a refrigerator or ice chests that can keep the vials okay, you can have more vaccination sites. Now, the downside on more vaccination sites is you need more people. So it's really a balancing act that our National Vaccine Operations Center needs to do. Either have more vaccination centers or put up big mega vaccination centers that have very high throughput of vaccines.
All right, thank you for explaining that very clearly. Now, how do you think, Doc, that LGUs can curb this alleged unauthorized sale of COVID-19 vaccines and vaccine slots that has been going on?
Well, number one, yes. Number one, vaccines are not yet for commercial sale. The issue once of our FDA is an emergency use authorization. That means we are using it because we are in a pandemic state. So it's not allowed for commercial use. It's only the national government that is buying these vaccines and giving it for free. So it is currently free. Now, certain private sectors tied up with government to say they will purchase also, but they will also follow the priorities of government. That's the tripartite agreement. Now, anyone else out there who's selling a vaccine is illegal because it's not yet allowed by the FDA or the Food and Drug Administration, because the vaccines just isn't allowed to be sold yet because it's still under emergency use. Now, the other thing that came out is that because of this prioritization, because of the lack of supply, there are people that are prioritized, like the healthcare workers, the seniors, and then the people with morbidities. They're the ones vaccinated first, but there are some people who want to jump the queue and are willing to pay money. Now, that's very dangerous because either someone knows how to tweak the IT system and put you in the slot, but even if you get into the slot, there are several steps to go through because the physician will look at you and say, no, you're A4 or you're A5, and I'm going to defer you because you're only injecting A1 to 3. So that means you can get scammed out of this, sales of slots, because there are many checks and balances that will happen prior to you getting the jab. So I suggest everybody be patient. They just wait for their turn. By June, our IATF has promised to start A4, our economic frontliners and government workers, and A5, all indigent people who have not been included in A1 to 4.
All right, so we just have to wait until June, and definitely we have heard of people getting scammed by purchasing or attempting to purchase vaccines online. Now, Doc, on another vaccine matter, this time about the mixing and matching of different vaccine brands. Of course, the DOST is about to conduct a study, but they said this will take some time. But we have heard that in Europe, they're already mixing and matching vaccines. So what's your take on this, Doc?
That's correct. Because of our approach has been a portfolio of vaccines. So we were able to get supply of vaccines because we talked to about 7 or 8 companies. So we have 7 or 8 different brands in the Philippines, and the supply trickles. No, it's coming out of the manufacturing plant and it's delivered in amount. So even in Europe, they've tried to combine two different brands, a first dose of a different brand and a second dose of another brand, and they seem to be finding some success in this approach as well. So our experts decided to look at that, but because our brands are different, so our combination will be different. So the Department of Science and Technology is embarking on a study to try to do that for several thousand people as well. So you have to volunteer for this, sign up with an informed consent, and they will try out this system. And if it does work, then maybe we can even make our vaccination throughput faster. because we can vaccinate and combine and mix and match.
All right, noted on that, Dr. Bosa. Now, an SWS survey also shows that about 6 out of 10 Filipinos, that is 3/5, that's quite a number, they actually prefer US-made COVID jabs over any other vaccine brands. Having said that, have you observed any improvements in vaccine hesitancy and, among Filipinos?
Well, I guess because we're reading English news, listening to English newspapers that are only producing news about the North American or the UK brand of vaccines, but we never hear about the other countries like Russia, China, and India. But scientifically, the doctors have studied all of them. They're all safe and they're all effective equally. I don't think one is superior to the other. A lot of them are showing good protection. When it is approved by our FDA, it is considered safe and actually effective. So in terms of the numbers that they show, I will warn people who are not knowledgeable about interpreting scientific data not to use their interpretation of just plain numbers, because there are nuances in terms of interpreting scientific data. So very important, I think the announcement today was that it's only the healthcare workers that have a choice of vaccine. All the rest will have to line up, and if they're called, you can have your vaccination based on the type of brand that is available in that vaccination center.
All right, we appreciate the time and the insights as usual. That was IATF advisor Dr. Ted Herbosa. Thank you, Doc.
Thank you very much.
Meanwhile, in Iloilo City, hospitals are getting overwhelmed as they grapple with a spike in COVID-19 cases. One doctor says that many mild and asymptomatic cases are developing into more severe infections. Jenny Dongon with the full report.
All 11 hospitals in Iloilo City have reached critical level as the city continues to see a spike in COVID-19 cases. The Iloilo City LGU has recorded an average of 41 new COVID infections daily this month, way above their daily tally of 11 in the previous months. At the St. Therese MTCC Hospital, which was abandoned for years but had to reopen this pandemic, doctors are seeing an alarming trend.
Nanonotice namin na kasi we only admit mild patients and asymptomatic. Recently, yung mga mild natin and asymptomatic, all of a sudden, nagpa-progress into moderate and severe.
Despite their current situation, Ilonggo health workers say they are committed to their duty.
So sa amin, okay lang yung konting sacrifice na hindi makauwi, walang problema yun. Yung concern kasi namin, marami nang affected kahit bata minsan, moderate, severe na rin.
The City Health Office says one reason why hospitals in Iloilo are getting full is the influx of patients from Panay Island.
Kung minsan tumutotal lang ng around 4 to 5 beds available for adult na magkaka-COVID. So yun yung nagiging problema namin ngayon with regards sa admission ng COVID positive ng Iloilo City.
Starting Wednesday, Iloilo City will be placed under modified enhanced community quarantine status in a bid to control the alarming spike in cases. Border controls will be put again and only essential workers will be allowed to enter the city. The rest of the province will remain under MGCQ, but health protocols will still be strictly implemented and only 200 to 300 people will be allowed to enter. For News 5, Jenny Dongon, we are One News.
Here are other stories we're keeping our eyes on. PNP Chief Guillermo Eleazar says the vaccine for sale scheme could be another online scam targeting specific people. Eleazar explained that those who reportedly sold vaccine slots for up to 15,000 pesos had directly contacted their victims. The Quezon City and Manila Trial Courts have moved to junk separate motions, questioning the arrest warrants issued for 4 activists. And they were among the so-called Human Rights Day 7 who were arrested in separate raids on December 10 last year. 2 of them have already walked free in March. U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken has arrived in Israel to bolster the ceasefire with Hamas. Blinken's trip is also seen to speed up humanitarian aid to the devastated Gaza Strip, where thousands of families have been displaced. And Filipino basketball fans are rejoicing over Phil and Pride Jordan Clarkson's winning the NBA's 6th Man of the Year award. In a statement, Samahang Basketball ng Pilipinas head Al Panlilio said that he never doubted that Clarkson would flourish at the NBA, having watched him play during the 2018 Asian Games. Clarkson averaged a career-high 18.4 points off the bench for the top-seeded Utah Jazz this year. He is also the first player from the Jazz to win the 6th Man award. Teammates Paul Lee, James Yap, and ex-Gilas coach Chot Reyes also tipped their hats to Clarkson for the feat. For more updates, visit News 5, The Philippine Star, and Business World online. Visit our website, onenews.ph, for more in-depth analysis. You can also catch One News on the Signal Play app. Register for a free account at www.signalplay.com and stream One News live anytime, anywhere. Mask on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines. I'm Sean Yao. We are One News.